Hello everyone. Today in this module, we are going to talk about the major terrestrial biomes on Earth. Terrestrial ecosystem can be grouped into broader categories which are known as biomes. Ecologists like Clemens and Shelford in 1939 coined the term biome for the regions which have similar distributions of plants, animals and environmental conditions. Biomes are the largest recognizable ecological units on Earth. In this module, we are going to talk about the 8 biomes of the world, their characteristics and classification. So, in this module, we are going to talk about the characteristics and classification of major terrestrial biomes. The distribution of biome types is influenced by the mean annual temperature and mean annual precipitation. Boundaries between the biomes are broad and merge into each other. These categories reflect the relative contribution of 3 general plant life forms, that is, the trees, shrubs and grasses. These plant forms represent adaptations under different environmental conditions. Within the broad classes of forest ecosystems, leaves are classified into 2 categories based upon their existence on the trees, that is, the deciduous leaves and the evergreen leaf types. The evergreen leaf types are further classified into 2 categories, that is, the broadleaf type characteristic of tropical rainforests and needle leaf type characteristic of environment with short growing seasons. There are 8 major terrestrial biomes. They are the tropical forest, tropical savanna, temperate grasslands, deserts, chaparral or the shrublands, temperate forest, conifer forest, which are also known as taiga or boreal forest, and the last one is tundra. Let's talk about the tropical forests. Ecosystems characteristic of warm, wet climates with no distinct seasonality are dominated by broadleaf evergreen trees and are called tropical rainforests. The tropical rainforests of the world are famous for the greatest number of plants and animals than any other biome on Earth. Tropical forests characterize the equatorial zone. They are found in tropical America, West Africa, Congo Basin of Africa and in the Indo-Malayan region of Asia. Talking about the climate, tropical rainforests are restricted to warm temperatures and high rainfall areas in equator between 10° north and south. Average temperatures range from 25 to 27 degrees centigrade and it varies little from month to month. Annual rainfall ranges from about 2000 to 4000 millimeter. Vegetation. Most plants growing in tropical rainforest are woody stemmed trees and climbers. The tropical rainforest is a broad-leaved evergreen forest with a complex multi-storied structure. The vertical structure of the forest is divided into 5 general layers, that are emergent trees, high upper canopy, low tree stratum, shrub understory and a ground layer of herbs and ferns. Conspicuous in the rainforest are the lianas or climbing vines, epiphytes growing up in the trees and stranglers growing downwards from the canopy to the ground. Many large trees develop buttresses for support. Tropical rainforest supports high level of primary productivity. Talking about the animal life, tropical rainforest harbors a great diversity of plants and animals. It covers only 6% of the total land surface but accounts for more than 50% of all known plants and animal species. The richest area is the lowland tropical forest of Peninsular Malaysia containing about 7,900 species. About the soil, tropical soils tend to be bright red in both A and B horizon due to oxides of iron along the oxides of aluminum and manganese. Tropical dry forests. Tropical dry forest includes semi-evergreen, dry evergreen, semi-deciduous forest. This is a series of plant communities along an environmental gradient towards increasing aridity. Tropical dry forests of all types are found in climate regions that are warm year-round and experience several months of severe drought during low sun period. They are often neglected as attention focuses on the wet evergreen forest of the tropics. They deserve treatment as separate biome because it hosts a different group of plants and animals that do either neighboring tropical savannas or rainforests. The broadleaf evergreen forests are replaced by the dry tropical forests. Dry tropical forests undergo varying lengths of dry seasons. During the dry seasons, the drought deciduous trees and shrubs drop their leaves. New leaves are grown at the onset of the rainy season. The largest proportion of tropical dry forest is found in Africa and South America. Most dry tropical forests have been lost to agriculture and grazing and other disturbances. Tropical savannas. Tropical savannas are characteristic of semi-arid regions with seasonal rainfall. The term savanna is used to describe range of vegetation types in the drier tropics and subtropics. Talking about the climate, tropical savannas occur north and south of tropical dry forest within 10 degree to 20 degree north and south of the equator. Savannas are associated with a warm continental climate with distinct seasonality in precipitation and a large variation in total rainfall per year. Seasonal drought combines with another important physical factor, that is fire. Fire helps maintain the tropical savanna as a landscape of grasslands and scattered trees. The vegetation. It is characterized by a vegetation cover of grasses with scattered shrubs or trees. Such vegetation is characteristic of regions with alternating wet and dry seasons. Frequent fires have selected for fire resistance in the savanna flora. Savannas are characteristic of two-layer vertical structure due to the ground cover of grasses and the presence of shrubs or trees. Productivity and decomposition in savanna ecosystems are closely tied to the seasonality of precipitation. About the animal life, savannas support a large variety of herbivores. The tropical savanna is populated by wandering animals that move in response to seasonal and year-to-year variation in rainfall and food availability. The African savanna is dominated by a large and diverse ungulate fauna, at least 60 species such as wild beasts, giraffes and zebras. The wandering consumers of the Australian savannas includes the kangaroos. Living on the herbivore fauna are large number of carnivores such as lions, leopards, cheetah and hyenas. About the soil, it is deeply weathered. Low nutrient acidic soil are characteristic of such biomes. The temperate grasslands. The natural grasslands of the world occur in the multitudes in mid-continent regions where annual precipitation declines as air masses move inwards from the coastal environments. In the northern hemispheres, examples of such regions are prairies of North America and steppes of Central Eurasia. In the southern hemisphere, grasslands are represented by the pampas of Argentina and wealth of high plateaus of southern Africa. About the climate, natural grasslands occupy regions where rainfall ranges from 25 to 80 cm per year. The temperate grasslands climate is one of the recurring droughts and the diversity of vegetation cover reflects the differences in the amount of rainfall. The maximum precipitation usually occurs in summer during the height of the growing season. The grasslands are tallest and most productive where mean annual precipitation is greater than 800 millimeter and mean annual temperature is above 15 degrees centigrade. Winters in temperature grasslands are generally cold and summers are hot. About the vegetation. The most visible features of grasslands is tall, green and short-lived herbaceous growth and that develops in springs and dies in autumn. Drought and high summer temperatures encourages fires. Grasslands consist of an ephemeral herbaceous layer that arises from crowns, nodes and rosetti of plants hugging the ground. The height of vegetation varies from about 5 cm in dry, short grass prairies to over 200 cm in the wetter, tall grass prairies. The ground layer and below ground root layer are other two major strata of grasslands. They have highly developed root layers that extend deep into the soil. About the animal life, grasslands support a diversity of animal life with both invertebrate and vertebrate herbivores including grazing and burrowing and mammals. The prairies were once dominated by migratory herds of bison, pronghorn antelopes and prairie dogs. Pampas deer and guanaco are the two major herbivores in pampas. The African grass belt once supported migratory herd of wild beast and zebra along with their carnivores such as lion, and leopards. About the soil, temperate grassland soils are derived from a variety of parent materials. The best temperate soils are deep, basic or neutral and fertile and contain large quantities of organic matter. The mollisol is the dominant soil. Desert biomes. Deserts are structurally simple scattered shrubs, ephemeral plants and open stark tonography. Talking about the climate, the arid regions of the world occupy from 25 to 35% of Earth's landmass. Much of these lies between 15 degree to 30 degree latitude. Deserts result from dry descending air masses within these regions. The rain shadow of coastal mountain ranges and remoteness from oceanic moisture. Temperate grasslands lie in the rain shadow of mountain barriers or are located far inland where moist air from oceans rarely enters. Temperatures are high during summer but drop 0 degree during the winters. Lack of precipitation is the distinct characteristic of all deserts. Water loss in deserts due to evaporation and transpiration of plants exceeds precipitation during most of the year. Deserts are differentiated based on differences in moisture, temperature, soil drainage and topography. There are hot deserts and cold deserts. Most of the arid environments are found in northern hemisphere. Sahara, the world's largest desert, is an example of hot desert. Other examples include the Thar Desert in northwest India, Chihuahuan Desert in Mexico, Atacama in South America. Cool deserts include Great Basin of North America, Gobi, Taklamakan and Karakum Desert regions of Turkmenistan. Should I repeat? Yeah. Other examples include the Thar Desert in northwest India, Chihuahuan Desert in Mexico, Atacama in South America. Similarly, the deserts of southern hemispheres all lies within the subtropical high pressure belt that mirrors that of the northern hemispheres. Examples include Kalahari in Botswana, the most extensive region of arid land in the southern hemisphere, is found in Australia, where more than 40% of the land is classified as desert. The vegetation. The hot desert ranges from those lacking vegetation to ones with some combinations of chenopodds, dwarf shrubs and succulents. Areas of favorable moisture support tall growths of acacia, yucca and ephemeral plants. Both plants and animals adapt to the scarcity of water by either drought invasions or drought resistance. Desert plants may be deep-rooted woody shrubs such as prosopis and tamarix. Other perennials have shallow roots that extend no more than a few centimeters below the surface. The infrequent rainfall along with high rates of evaporation limits the availability of water to plants so that the primary productivity is low. About the animal life, despite their aridity, desert ecosystems support a surprisingly diversity of animal life such as beetles, ants, locusts, lizards, snakes, birds and mammals, and carnivores such as foxes and coyotes, although in low abundance. Most desert animals use behavior to avoid environmental extremes. About the soil, desert soils are generally so low in organic matter that they are sometimes classified as lithosols, which means stones or mineral soil. They contain high concentrations of salts. Most desert soils are poorly developed aerosols and antisols. Most desert soils are poorly developed aerosols or antisols. Temperate shrublands. Mediterranean climates support temperate shrublands. Temperate shrublands are found in 5 widely disjunct regions along the western margins of the continents between 30 to 40 degrees latitude. Regions include areas bordering Mediterranean Sea, Central Chile, Cape regions of South Africa and southwestern and southern Australia. The wide geographical distribution of Mediterranean shrubland is reflected in the diversity of names for this biome. In western North America, it is called the chaparral. In Spain, the most common name is matorral. In South Africa, it is called fynbos and as mallee in Australia. About the climate is cool and moist during fall, winter and spring, whereas summers are hot and dry. About 65% of rainfall takes place during the winter months. Winter temperature averages from 10 to 12 degrees centigrade with a high risk of frost. The combination of dry weather summers and dense vegetation rich in essential oils creates ideal conditions for frequent and intense fires. About the vegetation, these are dominated by evergreen shrubs and sclerophyceous trees that have adapted to the summer drought and cool, moist winters. These regions support xeric broadleaf evergreen shrubs and dwarf trees. Much of the Mediterranean region in the southern Europe and northern Africa is dominated by oak and cork oak. Mediterranean shrub community in Mali is dominated by low-growing eucalyptus with broad sclerophyceous leaves. The shrub community chaparral dominated by shrub oak, matorral shrub communities in central Chile. For most of the parts, these shrub lands lack understory and ground litter and are highly inflammable. Shrubs have a densely branched woody structure and low height. Trees have thick fire resistant bark. In contrast, shrubs are rich in oils and burn readily but resprout rapidly. About the animal life, shrub communities support and complex of animal lives. Chaparral supports mule deers, coyotes and jackrabbits and sage grouse. Australia mallee is rich in mallee foals. grey kangaroos and wallabies. About the soil, soils of Mediterranean woodlands and shrublands are generally of low to moderate fertility and are considered fragile. Soils are typically alphisols deficient in nutrients. Temperate forests. Forest ecosystems dominate the wetter regions of the temperate zone. The largest living organisms on earth, the sequoias of western North America and the giant eucalyptus of southern Australia, live in temperate forests. The deciduous forests over Europe and Asia have been cleared over centuries for agriculture. In North America, deciduous forests are still widespread. Majority of this biome lies between 40° and 50° of the equator. About the climate, temperate forests occur where temperatures are not extreme and where annual precipitation averages from about 650 mm to about 3000 mm. These forests generally receive more winter precipitation than temperate grasslands. Deciduous trees usually dominate temperate forests where the growing season is moist and at least 4 months long. Where winters are more severe or the summers drier, conifers are more abundant than deciduous trees. The vegetation. Humid mid-latitude regions are dominated by broadleaf deciduous trees. Mild, moist climates of the southern hemisphere, temperate evergreen forests become predominant. They include various types such as beech maple and oak hickory tree forest. In the broadleaf deciduous forest of the temperate region, the end of growing season is marked by the autumn colors of the foliage shortly before the trees enter into leafless winter period. The trees resume growth in the spring with increasing temperatures and daylights. The deciduous forests usually have 4 vertical layers or strata: the upper canopy, the lower canopy or understory, shrub layer and ground layer of herbs, ferns and mosses. The animal life. The diversity of animal life is associated with this vertical stratification. About the soil. Temperate forests soils are usually fertile. They are generally neutral or slightly acidic and rich in both organic matter and inorganic nutrients. Differences in climate, bedrock have reflected in the variety of soils present. Alphisols, inceptisols and altisols are important. About the conifer forest. The conifer forests dominate the cool temperature and boreal zones. The largest expanse of conifer forest or the largest vegetation formation on earth is the boreal forest or taiga. This belt of coniferous forest encompasses the high altitudes of the northern hemisphere, covers about 11% of Earth's terrestrial surface. Conifer forests dominated by needle leaf evergreen trees are found primarily in a broad circumpolar belt across the northern hemisphere. In North America, the boreal forests cover much of Alaska and Canada. In Eurasia, the conifer forests begin in Scotland and Scandinavia and extends to northern Japan, covering the Siberia. About the climate, a cold continental climate with strong seasonal variation dominates taiga. The summers are short, cool and moist. Winters are long, harsh and dry with a prolonged period of snowfall. Fires are recurring events in the taiga. The precipitation in boreal forest is moderate, ranging from about 200 to 600 mm. Vegetation. In Central Europe, extensive coniferous forests are dominated by Norway spruce. In North America, conifer forests are dominated by spruce and fir and pine at lower elevations. Spruce and pine dominate boreal forest with successional communities of birch and poplar. Ground cover below spruce is mostly moss. In open spruce and pine stands, the cover is mostly lichens. Taiga is also a region of cold lakes, bogs, rivers and alder thickets. All the boreal trees, both broadleaf and conifers, are well adapted to fire. Compared to temperate forest, boreal forests have low net primarily productivity. Repeat. Compared to temperate forest, boreal forests have low net primary productivity as they are limited by low nutrients, cooler temperatures and short growing seasons. The animal life. The boreal forest has a unique animal community. Caribou inhabit open spruce lichen woodlands. Moose elk in Eurasia is the largest of all deers. Snowshoe hare, the boreal red squirrel, quill-bearing porcupine. Preying on these are the wolf, lynx, pine marten and owls. This biome is also inhabited by black bears and jiggly bears in North America and the brown bear in Eurasia. Taiga is also the habitat of seed-eating birds such as crossbills, grosbeaks, American redstart and chickens. About the soil. Boreal forest soils tend to be of low fertility, thin and acidic. Soils are primarily spodosoils. Tundra. Low precipitation and cold temperatures define Arctic tundras. The name tundra comes from Finnish tunturi, meaning a treeless plain. Tundra encircles the North Pole. The Arctic tundra extends beyond the tree line at far north of the northern hemisphere. The climate. It is characterized by low precipitation, low temperature, a short growing season, a perpetually frozen subsurface. At low altitudes, alpine tundra occurs in the higher mountains of the world. Has a severe environment of rock-strewn slopes, bogs, meadows and shrubby thickets. It is a land of strong winds, snow, cold and widely fluctuating temperatures. Precipitation in tundra varies from less than 200 mm to 600 mm. About the vegetation. The Arctic tundra falls into two broad types: tundra with up to 100% plant cover and wet to moist soil, and polar desert with less than 5% plant cover and dry soil. The number of species tends to be few and growth rates are slow. Low ground is covered with a complex of cotton grasses, sedges and sphagnum. These plants exploit the long days of summer by photosynthesizing during the 24 hours daylight period. Arctic plants propagate themselves almost entirely by vegetative means. Structurally, most of the tundra vegetation is underground. Root to shoot ratio of vascular plants range from 3:1 to 10:1. The lichens are eaten by reindeers and caribou. About the animal life. The tundra holds fascinating animal life, even the diversity of species is low. Invertebrates are concentrated near the surface. Abundant populations of white segmented worms and flies. Summer in the Arctic tundra brings hordes of black flies and deer flies. Dominant vertebrates on the tundra are herbivores including lemmings, hare carnivore, musk ox. Major carnivores are the wolf, weasels, lemmings, Arctic fox and snowy owl. About the soil. Soil formation is slow in cold tundra climate. Rates of decomposition are low and as a result, organic matter accumulates in deposits of peat and humus. To summarize, we can say that the Earth's terrestrial ecosystem is divided into these 8 biomes. These 8 biomes are very distinct from each other in the terms of their flora, fauna, climate and soil. It is very important for all students and for all individuals to understand the Earth and which will give us a future to how to protect and how to save our earth. Thank you.